Okay, we're live now.
Thank you, Mr. Everson. All right, good afternoon, commissioners. We will call this Caddo Parish Commission virtual work session agenda to order. It is August the 17th at 3:32 p.m. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Present.
Commissioner Gage-Watt.
Present.
Commissioner Taliaferro.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Present.
Thank you very much. I have 10 present and 2 absent. If those 2 that I have marked absent is Commissioners Burrell and Jackson. If I didn't hear you, please let me know.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Everson. Commissioners, we will start our meeting with our invocation led by Commissioner Taliaferro, followed by a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Vice President Johnson.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech thee that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of thy favor and glad to do thy will. Bless our land with honorable industry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one united people, the multitudes brought hither out of many kindreds and tongues. Endue with the spirit of wisdom those to whom in thy name we entrust the authority of government, that they may be justice and peace at home, and that through obedience to thy law, we may show forth thy praise among the nations of the earth. In the time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in thee to fail. All which we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
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 Commissioner Johnson, are you muted?
Okay, we have the flag up now. Ask that everyone will stand. Ask that all military, reserve, active, and veterans to do hand to brow, and all other citizens, right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taliaferro. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Everson, moving on.
So the next on our agenda is agenda additions that we don't have any today. The next item is citizens' comments. And we have received one electronic comment, but if now would be a good time, I'll go ahead and give the phone number for any dial-in comments that we may have. It's 318-226-6596. Again, that number 318-226-6596. And so we only received one public comment via email, and I will read that now if you're ready.
Yes, sir.
Great. So this comes from Mr. Chris Allwhite, who writes, I'd like to address allegations against Commissioner Taliaferro in regards to him threatening to get a Caddo animal control employee fired, attempting to stop transport of 91 animals from Caddo to rescues by contacting Hertz, as well as belonging to a FB hate group, which I believe he's referring to Facebook. Hate group that is looking to privatize Caddo animal control, that posts false allegations and spreads rumors. I'm hoping this will be read and addressed during the public comments section. Thank you for your time. And that's the only comment that we've received.
Mr. Everson, we'll give about 10 seconds just to make sure if anybody wanted to call in, they have the opportunity. Again, it's 318-226-6596. And as usual, commissioners and staff, of course, are not allowed to comment. We do get a lot of requests for back and forth. Citizens' comment time is just for citizens to voice their concerns about whatever within the parish. Deputy Nations, any phone calls in there?
Looks like she's on the line with somebody right now. You want to give her a second to, we'll see if that's a caller or if that's. Let me check with her real quick.
Sure.
Okay, Deputy Clerk, could you go ahead and connect the caller, please? She's getting the caller connected now. Sorry, they had a couple of
I'm going
questions.
to put you on speaker. And all you need to do is state your name and you have 3 minutes for your comment, okay? All right, hold on one second. Okay, you can go ahead with your comment.
Yes, my name is Tammy Randall, and I was hoping to address y'all today on the subject of some of the community attacking and making the lives of our parish workers very difficult, and particular rescue groups that would like to attack Caddo Parish and the workers that work within at CPAS.
Ma'am, I'm so,
I
Michelle,
know personally
I didn't
how
hear the
this
name.
affects your life, because I actually used to be employed with Caddo Parish, and I used to be the rescue foster coordinator at CPAS. And it's so rampant and it's so toxic and
Thank you.
very upsetting that certain people within our community feel like they can call and harass the commissioners or just try to make everybody's life difficult who is in the trenches and working so diligently to rescue as many animals as they can. The shelter is really a reflection of within the community itself. This time I've been silent, but I really feel that it is important to address it, to put it on the table. I no longer work for the parish. I appreciate the parish and I appreciate everybody's time and energy here, but I think at some point we need, yes, if you work for the parish, you are a public servant, but at some point we need to have community backing for the people who are in the trenches working with the animals in our community, instead of them being allowed to be thrown under the bus and be ridiculed all over social media and within the community, because there are those who would like to see Caddo Parish fail, and there are those who do not care about the quality of life of people who do work for the parish. And so as a citizen of the parish, I would like to address it, and I would like to ask, are there any measures for protection or to, back up the workers who are just being trashed all over the country right now on social media, just being in the trenches and trying to save as many animals as they can and doing with the job they've been given to do?
Does that conclude your comment?
That does my comment.
Okay, could you go ahead and state for the record one more time your name?
My name is Randall.
Okay, thank you so much. You have a good day.
Thank you, Deputy Nations. I heard the phone ringing. Is somebody else on the call?
I'm gonna answer it. Hold on. Caddo Parish Commission Clerk's Office. This is Michelle. Hi. Okay, hold on one moment. I'm gonna put you on speaker. Just state your name and you have 3 minutes, okay? You're welcome. Okay, you can go ahead and state your name. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead and state your name.
John Glover.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, I was calling with regards to 2 agenda items. 110.2, resolution number 64/2020, speaking to a special legal counsel, and reading the PDF that's attached there too, trying to understand why, outside the scope of the attorneys we already have, that we're asking for this to be addressed. And I was calling with.
Are you still there?
Yes, I am, and I wanted to finish the last part. And then Resolution 65 of 2020. There are a total number of 16 NGOs that are being put forth for consideration. I'd like to know the specifics of each and how they will impact the community. Thank you.
Okay, does that conclude your comment?
Yes,
Okay, have a good day.
you too.
All right, bye. That's all the comments we have.
Thank you. Yeah, so that concludes public comments at this point.
Okay.
Would you like
Thank
to
you,
move on? Our next is commission remarks, communiques, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
Put me down, Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Epperson, you can lead us off. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, I'm speaking relative to Act number 302. I feel that it's an attack on our First Amendment rights. It's vindictive, it's punitive, and it's partisan politics. I think it forced elected officials, primarily African Americans, into an unhealthy, unsafe, and a life-threatening situation. It appears to send a false message to the public that everything is okay relative to pandemics and public gatherings. Also, I would like to state that this is an attack on our sovereignty as local elected government subdivisions. It hampers us to fully respond to our local responsibilities given to us under the Home Rule Charter. Also, it's dangerous and deliberate, once again, as I stated, toward African Americans, whom our state demographics are African American population is 31% of Louisiana, and approximately 70% of the death and infection of COVID-19 are African Americans. I think this is a deliberate effort to give a political advantage to the conservative political extremists within our nation, from Washington, D.C. to Baton Rouge to the local stage. And I would warn each and every one here today to remember the Tuskegee Health Study, if you're familiar with that. I think this tries to give the impression to negate science data relative to the COVID-19 pandemic as it relates to age groups, underlying health conditions, and certain populations gathering in crowds. This article was not put in place in my position as to where it would increase our efficiency, our effectiveness, or any other things that we could do to enhance our relationship and our responsibilities to our constituents. We have met previously fully with the full agenda. As far as meeting virtually, there has been no issues. All things have been addressed and all of our citizens have been served well. My next deal is the Caddo Parish Animal Shelter, the threats of some elected officials, as well as our employees. I think at one point earlier within this year, I had asked the parish attorney to check out the statutes relative to threats of elected officials, whether it applied to our public employees also. If memory serves me correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Frazier, if you're listening, it was my understanding that that statute had been revoked or rescinded or suspended.
That's correct.
Not,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Here and again, a good measure that takes care of our decorum and respect as it relates to our employees and elected officials has been taken away. Once again, this goes all the way back to Washington, D.C., where effective leaders name call, disparaging remarks against public as well as citizens and elected officials. This supports this public vile disclosure among our citizens, which actually enhances threats, name calling, and other things toward elected officials, as well as our citizens and primarily our employees. They should not have to go through that. Also, as we go through these type of legislations that have been acted to usurp the authority of our local officials, another bears in mind the situation with this group called Caddo Alliance for Freedom, had legislation put into place on the state level, basically circumventing the authority of the Caddo Parish Commission and the Metropolitan Planning Commission. These are people that it appears that have often said that too much government overreach, but overreach in authority of the government, it appears to be fine as long as it's in their favor. And this is what I consider and has been nationally known as political authoritarianism movement. And it's all the way from Washington, D.C. through Baton Rouge, down through our local governments. And it's very, very dangerous. I'd also like to recognize and honor and give respect to all of our medical personnel, our emergency personnel, and all of those that work in the health units, the nursing homes, the hospitals. As you all know, that the national level of COVID has reached over 5 million in the United States of America. The death rate has reached 170,000 and climbing. I'd like to applaud your effort and give acclamation to all of you essential workers, including those of you that are manning our grocery stores. We will not forget you. And hopefully we will get some deeds and not a lot of words. During this situation, there were some significant events that we should not forget. We should not ever forget that on August the 4th, the Coast Guard of the United States of America celebrated its 230th year anniversary. The Coast Guard serves as one of our 5 military branches. They serve to take care of our coast, defenses, search and rescue, maritime law, and drug enforcement. Let us not ever forget what these military organizations have done in behalf of this nation. August the 7th, the 238th year of the Purple Heart. The Purple Heart is the oldest military medal. It was issued by General George Washington by general orders, and it celebrated its 238th year anniversary. All of the things that we have done today, were it not for our military, we would not be here to celebrate whatever we have, however we feel about our government and the situation that's going on for now. Let us not ever forget or let other things usurp and take away us recognizing the sacrifices of our military and our veterans. Also, let us not forget our fallen female soldier specialist, Vanessa Gillian. She's a female soldier that was murdered at Fort Hood, Texas. This also should shed a light on sexism and sexual harassment, not only in the branches of the military, but throughout all work areas of America today. Your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your nieces should not have to be subject to that kind of action from any anywhere in America, be it the private sector or the military sector. Those females should be treated with honor and respect. And I applaud the Catholic Diocese of Houston, Texas for sponsoring a memorial service at Cesar Chavez High School in Houston, Texas, in memory of her death. Let us not also forget the 8 Marines and the 1 sailor that lost their lives in a training accident off San Clemente Island in California. Let's never forget these sacrifices. Also, on August the 7th is VJ Day. That stands for the victory over Japan during the war, World War II, August the 15th, 1945. Let's honor and respect and thank all of our surviving military veterans of World War II for their service during that tumultuous time. And we can do that by wearing a mask. Let's respect the health of our Vietnam veterans. We can do that by wearing a mask. Most of them are in the vulnerable age for COVID. They are susceptible and in the vulnerable age and conditions where they can contract this deadly disease. Let's not forget about infecting our active military at Barksdale Air Force Base, Fort Polk, our National Guard, whom some are planning to be deployed. And there was recently an outbreak of several members in that particular unit, which could threaten their mission. Let's not be so selfish that we cannot wear a mask on their behalf. Let us also remember that our National Guards are the ones that's been on the front line helping with COVID testing. Let us also remember that hurricane season is in place. They are going to be called upon in the event of hurricanes that hit. Let's not be so selfish, in my optic, where we won't wear a mask for a certain period of time, where we can threaten and infect those individuals that are serving on our behalf. Worldwide, to this point, as of July the 17th, 20,000 active military persons have been infected with COVID-19. Another 29,047 of their dependents and civilian contractors have been infected. Realize that this can jeopardize our safety and our security. Also, on August the 18th, 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified. It allowed white women to vote. So on November the 2nd, 1920, over 8 million white women were allowed to vote for the first time. However, there's a caveat to that. The Delta Sigma Theta sorority, it was incorporated at Howard University, participated in the initial march with the white women in March of 1913. But it will be more than 50 years before they would be afforded and get full rights to vote. Since 1964, more women than men are voting in elections from 1964 to 2016. I'd also like to mention that the Veteran Celebration Committee will cancel our 9th annual honor ceremony and Veterans Parade due to the COVID pandemic. However, we will do a virtual recognition of the 2nd annual Colonel Stephen DePeisler Award. We are so glad that Colonel DePeisler lived to see the 1st annual Colonel Stephen DePeisler Award be issued in November of 2019. So therefore, we will carry forth the 2nd annual award in his honor. Plus, we will probably do scholarships for JROTC students from Bossier as well as Caddo. Also, the VA Medical Center, which some of our veterans may receive their medical attention, which I'm due for my appointment tomorrow. And I just got a call today that 3 of the nurses in my blue team unit has contracted the virus. So therefore, I will be receiving my medical attention via telemed. So this thing is serious, ladies and gentlemen. Let's please wear our mask and take this deal serious. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Everson. Obviously, your love for America and the military is second to none, so I always appreciate that. I'm sorry that the Veterans Ceremony is going to be postponed this year. One thing I can definitely say is in regards to decorum, I know you're the longest serving commissioner in Caddo Parish, and I can applaud and respect that all the times that I've served with you, regardless if we agreed or disagreed, you've always been very respectable to myself and every other commissioner. So thank you for that and bringing that up. That is something that we lack from here all the way to DC, and you lead by example when it comes to that. So thank you, Commissioner. Stephen Jackson, Commissioner Jackson, I thought I saw you wave your hand, but I didn't see it. You clicked on here. Did you want to speak or? Commissioner Jackson?
I can go after those who've been waiting.
Okay, I got LBJ and then Commissioner Braille, then I'll have Jackson after that. Go ahead, Vice President.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I guess during the public comments, we had 2 different conversations about the animal shelter. I would like to get a report on what actually happened at the animal shelter, so that I can understand it fully. It seemed like one person was saying one thing, another person was saying something totally opposite. So, Dr. Wilson, if somebody in your staff could give me a report on what actually happened at the animal shelter, I would appreciate that.
When would you like to have that, Commissioner?
I would like to have it by Thursday.
Okay.
If possible.
Okay.
All right. Donna.
Would it be okay if I give you a verbal report on that, sir?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Donna, also, I would like for you to send all the commissioners the role of a commissioner.
Yes, sir.
All right. And one thing about our animal services, at one time it was called the animal shelter, which I felt it wasn't a shelter, because the animal shelter, animals go in there and they supposed to stay there, and you do all kind of things to them. So when I was chair of animal services, I basically said we need to take the shelter part down. One thing that they kept saying about, the citizens kept saying about, was that it was a kill shelter. Well, in talking from when I was chairperson, and this year, we've done a lot of adoptions. And those adoptions are taking the place of kills. Now, we shut down adoptions, then we're going to increase our kills. And so I think the focus for most citizens of Shreveport was to basically not be a kill shelter, but try to come up with other means to have dogs, cats adopted and put back into society. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, it seems as if, and this has been going on ever since I've been elected, is that some people treat animals even better than they do humans. And when you talk about animals in our animal services building, and you talk about men and women that's in CCC, you don't have volunteers going in CCC. You don't have the general public complaining to Sheriff Prater about how he's treating the humans that are in CCC. Yes, they committed a crime, and some of them not even been charged with a crime yet are still in CCC.
Haven't been convicted.
Right, that's what I said. And so now you got animals that not by their own will, by the will of some human, has either turned that animal in or they wander in the street, and they end up in the animal services building. And so, we then have to take responsibility for that particular animal. Some animals are in good condition, some are in bad condition. And those that are in bad condition, there's no hope for them, so they have to be euthanized. And so there are some reasons in which it will be a kill shelter, as some people will call it. The other thing I want to talk about is COVID-19 is still killing people. If you look today, there's death in Northwest Louisiana based upon COVID-19. And I think that we as a body should basically oppose Senate Bill 302, ask for an amendment to Senate Bill 302 by basically saying that if a person that is elected has an underlying condition related to COVID-19, that person can go through a virtual process of performing in the meeting. It's their duty as the elected representative for that district that they be able to vote in all the meetings. And without that, that whole group of town is without a particular vote. We don't want to get to the point in which our business as a parish is slowed down or shut down because we don't respect the health issues of everyone that's elected. And I don't feel that every single person who has an issue has to turn in and file suit individually towards the state of Louisiana in order to be able to participate in something that they was elected to do for 4 years. So I would ask that our body, that we would eventually, maybe in our next meeting or our next meeting after this, put some legislation together that we will have that amendment asked for and filed in our behalf in order to help not only local elected officials, but elected officials throughout the state. That's all I got right now, Mr. President.
Thank you, Vice President. Commissioner Burrell?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'm just going to pretty much echo what was some of what was said before. I'm a little bit hoarse. I just got off the roof of my house. I do have some objections to SB 302 and how it's being how it's being interpreted as it relates to what can be addressed in Zoom meetings and what cannot. No, I'm not really afraid of the virus itself. I'm afraid of the politics around the virus, and that's what I'm having a terrible issue with. Anytime that the public news make a statement that our president and his son-in-law squashed a national testing initiative, in which that has been one of the major political problems that has been put forth, is the lack of testing. And they were accused of not having a testing initiative. I understand that Vanity Fair publication, which has been verified by other very sound news station other than Fox, that it is true that the reason why they stopped or squashed the testing initiative for the nation was because of the strategy that they were using, that they were hoping that Democratic states and Democratic cities that have large minorities would be disproportionately affected. And they were right. Minorities are disproportionately affected based upon the latest statistics, and my background is math and statistics. That 70% of the deaths, as Commissioner Epperson said, are African American. 40%, 30 to 40% are the minorities. White Americans is 20%. That brings about a pause when I'm thinking that my leadership has a strategy to commit genocide, and regardless of whether you call it that or not, that's what it is if you intentionally harm people. And I have a big problem with that. I was coming down to the meetings until I heard that, and that just really put a damper on my thoughts that everything was fair and above board. The second thing I'd like to address, Mr. President, is as we approach the November 3rd elections, I'm very, very much concerned about our president trying to defund the postal services. And I think that my cohorts, in which I love you to death, my Republican cohorts, I think you can affect that where I cannot. Maybe talk to your state leaders and talk to your congressional leaders, and let them know that this is not right. This is not right because not only does it suppress the vote for everybody, this is a nonpartisan issue. It not only affects the vote of everybody, it affects the services of everybody. People get their medicine, old folks get their checks, and I'm in that category. Our military are strongly affected. I saw a report from General Honore down in New Orleans. He was complaining about him not being able to get his medication and having to go somewhere else to find it. He's just one of many. So, Mr. President, if this message can be sent out to the public who have relationship to many of our Republican leaders and many of your cohorts, hopefully they will not be silent on this issue, because silence is complicity. And I think at this point, we don't need this. You know, our lives, politics is not everything. And our lives means more than politics any day. So, Mr. President, I'm gonna leave it at that. And I just want to send that out because that really concerns me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson, you're next, and then Commissioner Atkins.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to first say thank you to everybody who participated in our backpack giveaway. I would normally make these announcements at the end of the agenda, but I don't see comments or communicated at the end. But thanks to everybody who came out for our grab and go backpack and student face mask giveaway. We ran out of backpacks. We had about 500 backpacks dispersed between 2 different locations. And I want to thank the Shreveport Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. They have supported the mask giveaway that I've done for my district. They supported COVID-19 testing for my district, and they stepped up this weekend to help volunteer to provide backpacks to students. And we may look at doing some safety sanitation kits for the teachers later on, but just want to say thanks to everybody. And we wish that the students and the teachers have a safe back to school. I know it's not the same that we're used to in previous years, but it's sort of our new normal at this particular time. I do believe, and I'll echo what has been said before, that COVID-19, I'm not a medical professional, but I do work in the medical arena. And I will tell you that COVID-19 is still a true reality. The idea that if you just stop testing people, the virus will go away. That's just like saying if people didn't take a pregnancy test, their pregnancies would go down. It's not true. It's still gonna be there. And so this virus is still here, it's still spreading. My background today is a tribute to And the reason why I couldn't put the 20 individuals that I know, the reason why that I could not put them up here was because the app that I used only limited me to 8. But I just want to make sure that we continue to put a face with the deaths that have taken place. These are people we know. These are people who we would share a church pew with. These are people who I went to high school with. They're not all old. Randy Goldberg, I went to high school with Randy Goldberg. And that's a young daughter who doesn't have a dad now. He was a faithful father. Pastor Blake, just yesterday, Tari Bradford. These are not people who are out at a party hanging out. These are not people who were walking around without compliance. These are people who came in contact with somebody who probably didn't even know they had the virus. And next thing you know, we are without them. And to continue to see efforts to undermine the seriousness and the threat of this virus, I agree, at some point we will get beyond this, but we're just not there today. And to continue to try to force people to put their health and their well-being in the way, I think is beyond complicit. It's just disrespectful. And these are individuals who live great lives. They all were happy. And they all were gone before their time and could have been avoidable. And I want to look to see if I can expand find an app that'll let me put all the faces that I know up there. But we have to do better with regard to being concerned. And I need you to be more than just, well, I know that people are going to get sick. I think the statement was made previously, people are going to get sick. No, people are dying. They're doing more than just getting sick. They're dying. And the real reality is, and this may sound mean and messed up, but the reality is it doesn't serve any good for some people to get sick and recover from the virus. Because you got well-intended, good-intentioned people who come in contact with somebody who's just being haphazard and silly and selfish, and they die. But you got these nuts who are running around here and they recover. So it does no good for them to get sick and recover. And they don't, you never understand the seriousness of this. And so I want to continue to ask and plead that we not try to put commission lives. I will not be coming back to an in-person meeting until we at least move to phase 3. I will not do it. There's a reason. I have not been to church. The event that we had this weekend, we spread out. The only time people came in close contact was to take a picture, and everybody spread right back on out. Everybody had a mask. Everybody had gloves on. Everybody had hand sanitizer. And so the notion that, well, I see y'all out at events and doing this, no. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing to stay socially distanced. I also want to make sure that I reiterate what has also been said about the issues at Animal Services. And I don't know if Travis is on here, but I told him that this was going to eventually come up. And there was going to be a time where we were going to have to take these positions and some lines were going to have to be drawn. If you're not the director of Animal Services, I don't understand why people are taking it up on themselves to insert themselves in the middle of what Animal Services is doing. We have hired and paid people to do the daily job of Animal Services. There's no reason why. I don't go over to Parks and Recreation and get in the middle of what Mr. Wesley is doing. I may disagree with Attorney Frazier on her interpretation of some things, but I'm not going up to the 8th floor talking about I'm for the file dockets. I'm not going to do that. And so I don't know why with Animal Services, we seem to continue to have this constant interference from commissioners on Animal Service. A couple of y'all tried to interfere when a dog attacked me this year. You think I don't know about it, but I know. Y'all tried to pressure the Animal Service team to throw it out. Your own colleague got attacked by a dog. and you tried to pressure them to throw it out. I didn't get no apology. Y'all felt compelled to come on here and apologize to John Glover. And I don't hear anybody. I see this post where this woman talking about she wants to hang CPAWs, the staff at CPAWs. And she called Dr. Wilson a profane language. And nobody came on here and apologized to Dr. Wilson. So if we're going to talk about collegiality, if we're going to talk about being consensus builders, if we're going to talk about respecting folks, respect begets respect. And these people that y'all know y'all have relationships with and y'all he and kikiing with off the record, you need to check them and call them to the carpet sometimes when you come down here. Instead of always the moment Ken Epperson say something or the moment Commissioner Jackson say something, we got to feel like we compelled to right the ship or we got to soft sell it. I have yet to see an apology come from some folks on some of the things that have been done. People have showed up to my house and blasted my house on Facebook Live when I got a family member who was fleeing domestic violence at my house. I ain't got no apology from you on that. We need to let administration do their job. We have a right to question it, but we do not have a right to go down there and insert ourselves in the middle of what they're doing. We got every right to disagree with what they're doing, but we need to respect. I'm gonna disagree and I might argue, but I ain't gonna try to belittle you. And if I do, I'm gonna hit you up, Commissioner Chavez, and I'm gonna apologize. So we need to remember, respect begets respect. And I hear a lot of people talking about respect and apologizing and being sincere about stuff, but it seems to go out the window when the respect is being flung somewhere else. So I just want us to keep that at the top of our mind. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and thank you for that. Definitely forgive you, and I like that you and I can work together going forward. I really appreciate that. Commissioner Atkins.
And President Chavez, this is the clerk, if I could just real quickly, for the record, during Commissioner Jackson's statement, I believe he inadvertently said Tari Bradford had passed, but it was Lily Bradford that passed. It's Tari's mother.
I apologize. Yes,
Okay.
her mother passed away just yesterday. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Everson. Commissioner Atkins, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure of the exact issue or the details of the exact issue that Commissioner Jackson was just referring to, but I will support his view that as commissioners, we certainly want to recognize our role is to provide an oversight role and a legislative role, and certainly rely on the administration and the administration's team to run the day-to-day operations of the parish. So let's all keep that in mind moving forward. As you all know, I tend to prefer to refrain from national politics on the Parish Commission. I know many of you disagree with me and view this as a part of our role to discuss national politics, but I myself would encourage us to refrain from national politics and to stick to our local agenda items. Just my view there. I also want to remind you all that I believe we've been very supportive as a body of coronavirus testing and coronavirus programs. I feel there's been in some of the previous discussion items, there was a certain innuendo that perhaps the whole commission hadn't been supportive of our community with respect to coronavirus. But we've done our due diligence on these issues, but at the end of the day, I think that we have been supportive and tried to direct appropriate funding to the appropriate parties to provide testing and support for coronavirus. So let's not forget that. And lastly, there's been also some commentary around attending meetings in the chamber and not attending meetings in the chamber, and Zoom, and a conspiracy to keep people off Zoom and to the chamber. But let me remind everybody that although I would prefer to meet in the chamber, and there's many of us that would prefer to meet in the chamber, we are still modifying our schedule and having additional meetings and doing our best to be accommodative to those people who aren't comfortable going to the chamber. I understand why they aren't comfortable going to the chamber, and I respect that. But we do have a law in place, regardless of whether we agree with it or not. There is a law in place that we're having to work around. And I think that your colleagues have been very proactive in trying to work with all of us on this matter. So, I wish we could show each other some more grace and realize that we're all trying to work through a difficult situation, particularly President Chavez. He's got a difficult situation to deal with, and he's doing his best, and I appreciate his efforts for that. So let's all try to give each other a little grace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioners, I see no one else on the board. If somebody else wanted to speak under committee case, please wave. Mr. Everson, I see no, okay, hold on one second. Commissioner Burrell, I saw you. Go ahead.
I'm just going to make a short statement because it was a reference that we need to keep national politics off. All politics is local. That's one thing you learn in politics 101. And the president wouldn't be where he is if I didn't vote for him. The Senate and the House members in Congress would not be where they are if I didn't vote for them. Those in the state House would not be there if I didn't vote for them. Those in the local government would not be there if I didn't vote for them. So regardless of whether you feel that somehow these people are so lofty, they make rules that filters down to where we are that affect us every day. And I know that it affects my life every day. Now, it may not affect yours, but it affects my life every day. So I have every right as an individual citizen with one vote to make my concerns known. And I make my concerns known not only for myself, but the people that I represent in my district, my family, and and you, as far as I'm concerned, because I do have a concern and a love for you. And if I see people at different other government levels in which I voted for, not doing what I think that they should do as an individual because I voted for them with that one vote, I think I have that right to do that. And I noticed that before we have made some statements that we shouldn't send a resolution to the state. If the state never knows what your concerns are, they're going to do what in the hell they want to do. I know, I've been there, and that goes to the next level. So I'm not thrashing out at anyone. I'm just saying that is how I understand politics and my right as a voter. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to take a minute to thank the administration, Dr. Wilson, Ms. Bryant, Mr. Wesley, and Parks for their hard work and vision in putting together a great preliminary plan for a new nature center, visitor center, education center at Walter B. Jacobs Park. They're going to be applying soon for state funding for that park project, which I believe is long overdue to our region. And there's going to be a resolution coming up to the full body to that effect very soon. And I just wanted to thank them and let everybody know to look out for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Everson, Mr. Everson, I see no one else on the board if you want to move.
Okay, next on our agenda is the administrator report. And while Dr. Wilson gets ready to give his report, I'll just draw your attention to the certificate of teleconference that's attached.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, commissioners and staff.
Afternoon.
Commissioners, you all should have received the July financial report. Should have been sent to you all. I just want to make you aware that the July 2020 financial monthly report should be in your mailbox, email. Also, the last commission meeting, Commissioner Ken Epperson had sent a letter to the clerk asking that we put on the agenda to add additional satellite voting locations. As you all know, this was something we had talked about before. And I think it's even part of your interview process when you selected a new registered voter the last time that task was done. So last year, Erica and I, we met with Mr. Dale Sibley to talk about this idea, and he was in favor of it. We put $100,000 in the 2020 budget to pay for a satellite site to create a site. And Mr. Sibley had informed us that due to revised statute 18 semicolon 1309-B1 already authorizes the parish to create an additional site. So Mr. Sibley had every intention on creating that site this year. Due to COVID, he ran into some issues that he could not carry that out. With the early voting starting October 20th, that will not probably be done in time, because he said you had to have it done by no later than 13 October. You all should have seen some correspondence from State Representative Sam Jenkins indicating that the All City Museum was a site. That was a suggestion by the Secretary of State office because it's already a state building and they had a secure internet service for that facility. So I did have opportunity to meet with Mr. Sibley again recently with the prospects of trying to add additional sites beyond the third one. And he informed us that that will be a legislative act that will require changing the law to add additional sites. So the only thing we can do at this point is for the commission board to vote and select a site, whether in the north, the south, east, or west, to establish an additional voting satellite voting location. And then at the next legislative opportunity, we need to send a resolution urging the legislature to revise the law to give us the authority to add additional sites beyond the one that's authorized for us to have now, so that in the true spirit of Mr. Ken Epperson's request, we would be able to put one in the north, south, east, and west of the parish. So that's what the deal is right now with respect to additional satellite locations. We are authorized to have one. We have the money in the budget for one, but the commission need to decide where that location need to be. And I don't think, according to Mr. Sibley, that question should be made by the Secretary of State. It should be made by the Caddo Parish Commission Board. So we have multiple libraries throughout the entire parish. We thought that the administration was brainstorming this with Mr. Sibley, that we would put it in a library or some place, some suitable place that's authorized. Even the state museum would be an appropriate place if the commission so desired to do that. So I think that's what needs to happen at this point. But there's no way that we can add additional satellite voting locations beyond what the law allows us to do at this point, other than the one that was authorized. So that's it, commissioners. That's all I have for you by way of administrative report. And now, if you want to ask me a question relative to the discussion we had with Mr. Sibley on the voting satellite voting locations, I'll be glad to entertain that for you as well.
Dr. Wilson, I have a couple commissioners on the board. The first one I saw was Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Wilson, based on this, the financials that you received, I don't know if Haley or the young lady who sent it out is on. Are we going broke? What, a finance person once told me all financial statements tell a story, and so I'm trying to figure out what story is this telling us? Is it saying we're going broke or what?
No, sir, we're not going broke. It just tells you what monthly expenses we incur for July.
Okay, so so even with us stepping up to make certain kind, I guess you could call them maybe loans to kind of do some of this COVID-19 stuff, we hadn't gone in the red, are we?
No, sir. We've been pretty fortunate, Commissioner Jackson. All the reimbursement items we put in for thus far, we have gotten approval that we'll get reimbursed for it as well.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear, because you would think, you know, we got we've got about $8 million, $8.9 million out there. And my understanding is if we don't spend it all, they're going to send it to some other parishes. And if those parishes don't spend it all, the state is going to spend it. So, you know, as we discuss our response to COVID-19, I would hope that we would keep that in mind. Is one, we're not going broke, but two, all the expenditures we have submitted have been carefully vetted and they've been approved for reimbursement so far. So
that's correct.
Thank you and to your team for taking care of that for us. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young, I had you on the board from before, but your hand was up. Did you want to speak to Dr. Wilson?
Nope.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, regarding the additional early voting sites, so just to be clear, we have permission and a budget to do one additional early voting site. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
And the commission is being asked to decide where that location would be?
Yes, sir. The commission board had expressed a desire over the past 2 years for additional voting sites. So we are authorized that one site already, but we have not decided what geographical location we should put it in.
And do you have any thoughts on how we would actually make that decision?
Sir, we thought that we have libraries throughout the parish, and we can talk to the library folks about getting a secure room, perhaps a state building, parish-owned facility. But we just need to decide, is it suitable to put it up in North Caddo, West Shreveport, South Caddo Parish? We just needed to make that determination where we would like to have it, and we'll go out and work the facility issue with the registered voter.
Currently, of course, we have early voting site in downtown Shreveport.
Yes, sir. But parking is bad, awful.
Pardon me?
The parking situation is very bad.
Right. Well, I would just, in my view, we should think about who has the most inconvenience going to the current early voting facility and factor that into the decision. That may be at Commissioner Epperson's district out west. It may be Commissioner Hopkins' district up north. It may be my district down south, or Mario's district to the southwest.
Yes, sir.
But I would encourage us to take some objective metrics for determining this location and not just let it be at the whim of which public building might be convenient for us.
Yes, sir. We did talk to the register of voter about the statistical data that indicate the percentage of people that would have access to it by the voting rolls. And he did tell us the majority of the voters are located in the south of the parish.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. I show no other commissioners on the board. Hold tight. I see Commissioner Hopkins. Go ahead.
Mr. Wilson, Dr. Wilson, what is considered in the south part of Caddo Parish?
Well, I would say south of the Keithville area, actually Southern Hills area, anything other than downtown.
Okay, everything outside.
Yes, sir.
The under I-20, basically south of I-20 is what you're saying.
Yes,
okay.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Vice President Johnson.
Yes, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
So if you're looking at the statistics of where the voters are, I would say, and I guess everybody on this commission would say, that the majority of the voters are inside the city limits of Shreveport. City of Shreveport has 200,000 individuals, and out of that, it's at least 100 and some thousand registered voters. So I would say that if we're looking at numbers, the numbers would say that the second location needs to happen inside the city limits. Yes. When people move out into rural areas, they know that they're going to be inconvenienced. They already know that. if I move out to the state line and I have kids, I know I'm gonna have to get my kids to school. There's not gonna be a school built on the state line to be for convenience for me. And so I feel the same way with you talking about other services that we have. When you move further out, that means your services is going to be limited, and you got to look at the masses. So we're talking about increasing voter participation, which is what we should be trying to do. We're talking about having a location where people could go and feel comfortable. I mean, people don't want to go downtown because one, there's nowhere to park. Two, that if it's a line and the weather's inclement, then they're gonna be standing in the rain. They're not gonna be tending to vote. So I think the discussion has to be one, how many voting machines will be available for early voting, and then how many of those would need to be moved if we want to have it into a bigger location for early voting and use downtown as a smaller location. Because you can always flip-flop if you got a number of machines available. You know, if we had a larger venue where people could be inside and have larger voter turnout, as opposed to being at downtown as the main place to go, it might now become the secondary place to go. I think we need to determine how we want to look at this and do this the right way to get voter participation.
Right.
And not just to say, well, we put another location in and fine and dandy, you know, and to say that, well, there's more rural voters in South Caddo Parish or more rural voters in North Caddo Parish. You still got way more voters in the city limits of Shreveport that outweighs them hands down. And so that's just my opinion on how we should be looking at this, and not just saying, well, we just put it in this region because they got more voters out in the rural part of the area.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson, we are not limited by equipment, because the same equipment you use in different precincts are not going to be, you know, you're only going to have a week before the regular election. So the equipment is not an issue. The issue is, where do you all think the new place should be located? By whatever matrix you use, the commission still have to make that decision. And if you need additional information from the register of voter, we can get that. But we just need to get, I guess, quit talking about it and develop an approach so we can move forward with picking a location for whatever we choose.
All right, I agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. Commissioner Epperson, I see you on the board. Good job, Commissioner Epperson.
I found that little hand. Dr. Wilson, what's the status of the Rebel Monument?
Sir, by the end of this month, we should have all the technical provisions. Attorney Frazier, would you care to expound on that, please?
Yes, sir. By the end of the month, we should have the technical provisions. Actually, we may have those as early as next week, as well as we should know the final location of it, and that will be the information that we need to start issuing the requests for proposals.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, and also I've been speaking with East Baton Rouge Parish. They have a total race of voters around 281,000, and they have five remote early voting sites. And in my opinion, I think downtown shouldn't be bothered because it's already staffed and equipped. So we just decide on where we're going to do this one that we have, and make sure that we get the indication to the legislature early. Now, for a lot of you, you know, we sit here talking about the legislature going to meet in March, but hell, they have bills pre-filed in October and November. So no need of waiting around. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Epperson. I would encourage us to, we had to find someone that would sponsor this for us. We need to go ahead and get moving on that if that's what the will of the commission is going to be.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Okay, sir.
All right, Commissioner Burrell, I saw your hand. You muted, Roy.
There we go. I'll unmute myself. Just one comment on the voting location. I agree with you, Mr. Vice President, in terms of the number of people that you're serving. You have a greater density within the city limits. But at the same time, I would ask too that you consider the transportation needs of people who have to try to get to these locations also. Many people who wind up having to do it may have to do it on public service. So just give that some consideration whenever you're looking at the outside location. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, with what Mr. Burrell said, that's correct. I know inside the city limits, you've got bus lines and things like that provides a way to get downtown to vote. And the problem we have in Ida, Rodessa, is that a lot of people don't have the transportation to get downtown to try to early vote. So it would be beneficial to have at least one site up north.
Right.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. I see no other commissioners on the board to speak about this topic. Dr. Wilson, before we move on from your request for information, I wanted to check, sorry to say that we lost our NLEP Economic Development President, Scott Martinez. I think he did a great job. I hate to see him go, but I'm thankful for his new endeavor in Texas, and those guys are lucky to have him. My only concern now is with our General Motors plant. I know he was working hard and he had a project coming to fruition. So I wanted to see if you can get a report for us. I hope that the deal doesn't fall apart with Mr. Martinez leaving. So if you can work on getting us an update
on where we're at with that. Yes, sir. Commissioner Chavez, Ashley Posada is taking his place in terms of being the principal contact with IRG, and also the project you talk about relative to the GM plant. So she's been talking to IRG and ONO. They've been copying me in the conversation. So we have not lost any connections or grounds on that, because now that responsibility shifted to her, and she was in on it already.
Okay, that's good.
So we're not going to lose any connectivity there, grounds in terms of progress with respect to that.
Okay, it's good to hear.
That's ongoing.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wilson.
But I do appreciate Commissioner Chavez. Scott Martinez did a yeoman's job working for us, and
he did.
Certainly, he had a lot of balls up in the air to juggle, but he always made Caddo a priority. When we call, he's never failed to answer our requests and provide the information we needed. So as far as I'm concerned, job well done, and I wish him the best over in Tyler, Texas.
I agree with that 100%. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Everson, moving on.
All right, next is President's report.
Thank you, Mr. Everson. Obviously, commissioners, we've heard a lot about CPAWS. I really don't know what transpired. I did ask for our Animal Service Committee Chair to call a meeting. Our ultimate goal is obviously to do the betterment of CPAWS, to decrease the numbers of euthanizations, which we've achieved tremendously. I know we met with Mr. Clark and Dr. Wilson last week, and I think we're shy about 3 points from a no-kill shelter, which I know a lot of the public would love to see. And I think the misconception is that it's 100% no-kill, but it's actually, as Mr. Clark advised us, about a 90%. I think we were sitting at like 88%. Those guys have done a great job. A lot of people came on throughout the weekend and sent us different emails and texts, and I don't want us to get into the minutia of the day-to-day name calling. However, if our goal is to decrease the numbers and get animals out safely and healthily, I would like to see that done. I know a lot of commissioners on this call, they're confused as much as I am of what people are talking about in name calling. I don't want us to get into that. I want us to get into how do we achieve our end goal? And that's a great CPOS for everyone. So enough about that. I know we're going to work towards that. A lot of commissioners spoke on Act 302. We hear you loud and clear. Trust me, I've reached out to Attorney Frazier. I told you guys I was going to write a letter to the governor to ask him to reconsider. Attorney Frazier told me they've already done that on the parish's behalf. It did not work out so well. So I would be in favor of any commissioner, and I would like to co-sponsor it if we would like to send up a resolution to urge them to change their mind. I do understand that we have commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. We have some commissioners that don't want to come to the meeting because of personal health concerns, and that doesn't go unheard. And if that's what we need to do to address, at the end of the day, yes, it is more difficult to run Zoom meetings. It is difficult to run simultaneous in-person and Zoom meetings. It's harder to do that, but this is our job. So if our job could be achieved 100% via Zoom to allow some people to stay at home, I'm fine with that. Over the weekend, I know we had some issues with some commissioners thinking that myself or other people purposely left agenda items off. Commissioners, this is just the hand that we're dealt. I will give you my word that I will be as fair as I can, and I will go down the list and by the letter of the law, place those items on the agenda as I deem them fit, as well as bringing in Commission Vice President Johnson, so we have true bipartisan. And Commissioner Vice President Johnson did a great job and helped me out with that to put those items on there. The administration sends out a report to us on the items that they saw that was sent to them first, with legal addressing those on did they make the cut or did they not. And then all the ones that were sent to Mr. Everson, those were sent to Vice President and myself, and we looked over those and put those on the meetings. I know we went back and we had some issues. Those items that made it, they're now on the agenda. We're discussing them today. I know we have people on Facebook Live and callers and emailers that sent me messages that they did not feel that some of those items should have been on there. I can assure you that we vetted all these items that are on today's meeting. We're doing the best that we can. We're going by the letter of the law. Our legal staff has given us a roadmap or a guideline, if you will. I know Commissioner Jackson applauded them for that. It's very easy if we can look at something to see how we're supposed to follow the law, as opposed to on every scenario, we get an email from legal that's not correct. So legal, thank you for drafting that checklist for us. It's going to help us do our job a lot better. Commissioner Burrell, you and myself, we can work on that Act 302 reconsider together. I think a lot of other commissioners will join in with us. Mr. Alan Clark, I see you're on this call. Thank you for all the help that you've been doing. I know we, as a city commissioner, I know a lot of people, they're hard on the MPC, especially the rural citizens. This is not to talk about rights or lack of rights. However, we deal with the MPC on a day-to-day basis when it comes to businesses and zoning within the city. And as a city commissioner within Southern Hills, I have to lean on Alan a lot. And Mr. Clark, you've done a lot lately in the last 2 weeks to help businesses that have reached out to me within the city of Shreveport. So thank you for all that you're doing for us. Commissioners, the census, I know I sent you guys all a backdrop. Some of us are less tech savvy than the others, and we couldn't get the backdrop added, but we tried. But we're getting some t-shirts made so that we can get with our census committee and try to boost the numbers. I know we talked about this last week. Oftentimes people think that the census is political. It's either one side or the other, and it's not. At the end of the day, we all drive on these streets. Our kids all go to these schools. We get this federal funding. So if all of us can work together, I'd love to see Caddo Parish, if not at 100%, somewhere close there. CARES Act, somebody brought this up in regards to reimbursement. I think it was Commissioner Jackson. I met with a consultant from South Louisiana that came up to try to help Caddo Parish achieve the maximum reimbursement rate on the CARES Act. I'll be happy to report that our staff, Haley and Erica, are doing an amazing job. And the consultant from South Louisiana left saying that you guys are probably ahead of the curve in every single parish I've met so far. So to Erica and Haley, thank you for all the hard work that you guys are doing. We're doing a lot of work on testing. I think it was Commissioner Atkins that said that we've done a lot in regards to testing so far, and we've done a really, really good job when it comes to the COVID-19 and how our reaction is. And all the commissioners on board this call, as well as the staff, have really revved up and made sure that this is not going to cost Caddo Parish Commission any money, because the CARES Act is going to reimburse us. So thank you for all the work that you guys have done on that. I think that's enough for right now, Mr. Everson. We can move along.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner Burrell.
Just one comment. You
Yes.
made a statement. It may appear to be correct, but our census has become somewhat political. What I understand is that the date has been pulled up. Is that not correct? It's been pulled up to 23rd.
It's been pushed back. Mr. Everson, do you have the report on when the census committee has moved it to?
I can send that out. I do have it. I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but I certainly can send that out.
But does the committee?
September 30th.
That's correct. It's moved up 30 days. It was due to be October 31st.
Right. That's when I said that it has become political. You know, I mean, I don't have a problem in telling you how to eat the cabbage. It is. It has become political. 30 days would have made a big difference during COVID, and it did not have to be pulled up, but it was, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see Commissioner Jackson. I didn't want to not allow you to speak. You got a hand up. Was there something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that and I made reference to it in my comments. I do appreciate the process that we went through last Friday morning. I think that's something that we ought to utilize for people, not just bring the president and the vice president and administration. If somebody has something, they ought to be able to speak to their legislation. I think if you include people in that initial conversation, it can cut down on a lot of confusion. What we eventually figured out was the other two items didn't even need to be on any agenda. And so the only reason why they weren't there was because it was suggested that I put them on. So I would strongly encourage, Mr. President, that you include individuals who are asking for legislation to be put on so that they can be a part of that process. And I think you may have less of a headache at that point. So appreciate you and thank you for the checklist.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Everson?
Okay, that brings us to old business, and our first item under old business 10.1 is authorize the introduction of ordinance number 5960.
Move to advance.
Second.
Is that Commissioner Jackson or Commissioner Epperson?
I heard Jackson as the motion and the
Jackson,
second by
yes.
Gage Watts.
Okay. All right. Got a motion by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Watts. Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on that motion?
I just think that it is this is something that we discussed in the Economic Development Committee. Southern went back and retooled their application. It specifically fits toward accelerating the nursing program so students can get out quicker, particularly as we talk about fighting COVID. A lot of those hospitals and Jeff, if I could, you didn't do it this meeting. If we could attach all of those letters of support, I believe each hospital system in town submitted a letter of support, and they also referenced that they have skin in the game as well. So
I'll attach those for the next agenda. Thank you.
Yes, sir. If we can do that, I think they send a powerful message to have every single hospital system, as well as the health, the medical school here, supporting Southern Shreveport. So ask for our favorable advancement on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to reiterate Commissioner Jackson's points. This did come out of the Economic Development Committee. It was the result of several different iterations of discussions with Southern regarding their funding. This request was much tighter, much further defined, much more precise than some of their previous requests. So that level of scrutiny to the request was helpful for me to get on board with it. And then as Commissioner Jackson said, the strong support from the local medical community really pushed me over the top. So I'll be supporting this going forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Taliaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a couple of questions. It seems that Southern is, always looking for us to support them financially in a variety of things. I know that they weren't successful in getting their support in the last presentation with a couple of their programs. I don't understand why they need our support financially when no other higher level of institution or educational institution comes to us for support. It's not that I'm against supporting wholeheartedly. I'm just curious as to why they're looking for our support for a variety of programs that many other colleges or higher institutions have. And also, I have asked repeatedly, and this is probably during the COVID or way before the COVID, for them to provide us with a number of students in their aviation mechanic programs, in their medical programs, and there was another program that I cannot remember which one it was. And I would like to know
Mr. President, those programs are not germane to the particular motion.
Okay, well, let's stick with the medical program then, or nursing program, and it's not just about COVID. My concern is that I asked them for a list of the students that, not a list of the names, but a list of the number of students that had enrolled, the list of students that have dropped out, the list of students that have graduated, and the placement of those students. In other words, where did they go upon graduation? I asked for those on 3 separate occasions, and I really have not received any of that. So part of that, if we're going to go forward with this and asking support of the commission, then I would ask Southern to supply us with that information as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taliaferro. I have Vice President Johnson and then Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, Mr. President. Ever since I've been elected, there has been other local universities, schools that have come to ask money from the parish commission. The first one was LSUS. They wanted a computer animation program. It was a certificate. It wasn't even a degree. It was a certificate, and they wanted. I want to say it was $1 million for that particular deal. Mm-hmm. Southern has asked for help for degree programs. These programs will put people into our community, which will then improve their quality of life, which was at that point in time, which will help buy new homes, large equipment like cars, houses, things of that sort, which comes into our coffer. If you look at the state and how they've been cutting higher education, that's one of the reasons why they come to their local government to ask for help. Those students and the programs that are in place, they need help to get grounded. The nursing program, basically, they had a gap between the CNA program and the RN program. They had the LPN program that they need help with. They got funding for 1 year and they got up and running. Then they need more money. Right now, they're trying to kick off the metro piece of it, which will put more nurses into the curriculum and get more nurses out into our medical field, which will help right now in the case of COVID-19. And this is the reason why this is on this virtual meeting. It's because it's going to help put more students out into the COVID-19 first responders category. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Johnson. Now, Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I was doing something else, but I'm trying to see. So what was the list of things that was being requested from Sussman?
I have it written down, Commissioner Chavez. And
What is
Thank
that,
you.
Dr. Wilson?
yeah, I have it written down, and we'll send Southern University a letter.
Dr. Wilson, no. What I'm asking is, what was that?
It was the number of nurses enrolled, the number of nurses dropped out, the number of graduates from the nursing program, and where they were placed at.
Okay. They don't already submit this information, because I guess what I'm concerned about is too, you get into what is called FERPA. You have HIPAA for the medical side of things, but you also get into FERPA on the higher education side of things. And so, you know, if we're going to support folks, let's support them. Attorney Fraser, does Susler not submit a report, the compliance report?
Commissioner, they only submit a compliance report for the grants that they have gotten. So if this is not something that they've received for this particular program, they would not have had a report submitted in accordance.
Okay, so we had never supported the nursing program or allied health program before?
It has been probably a good 4 years or so, I believe, since they last had to provide a report for that.
Okay, and what did they submit all of that about who how many dropped out, all that? Just, you know, I want to be, I want to make sure we're being prudent with tax dollars, but I also want to make sure that, you know, we're not running afoul of some of these privacy things that we have going on.
What they usually submit is they will tell us how many of the students have been placed, because it's been awarded as an economic development grant. And so they tell us how many students have been placed, or maybe where they've been placed. They don't share any of the personal identifying information of the students.
Okay, but what you're saying is that is already included, or that has typically in the past when we've supported their program, that's typically what they include already. Even with the aerospace program, that was how we was able to make the decision that our dollars weren't really being utilized wisely with the aerospace program. Am I kind of standing that?
That information has been provided before.
Okay, so, you know, I just think that we ought not, hopefully that this is not something to try to deter or detract away from the program. If some information is needed, I would suggest probably working through Dr. Wilson, but also understanding that there are going to be some things that Susler cannot provide because they do have to comply with FERPA, but typically they provide us with more than enough information in their reports. The other thing that I want to point out is that these dollars will be asked to be reimbursed by the CARES Act, because their goal is to accelerate. That's why I want those letters to be attached, is to accelerate the amount of nursing, because even though COVID-19 may be slowed down, it's not going away. And that is one of the things that we have to understand. There's gonna be another wave. We hadn't caught the second wave yet. So with the flu season and all that, they're gonna need more respiratory therapists. That demand is gonna be there. So Matthew Lynn went through the Allied Health Program and is now working at Oshner's, LSU, as well as the VA, contributing to this community. So they're putting high-wage, high-paying individuals back into our community. So hopefully we can support this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Epperson, and then LBJ again.
Ms. Bryant. Ms. Bryant. Okay. Hello. Okay, I'm sorry. I call for the question on the motion.
Second.
All right. The question has been called by Commissioner Epperson.
Who was the second on that call for the question?
Jackson.
I think it was Jackson.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Jackson. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Sorry, I couldn't hear. Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
No.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
No, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
10
Vote
in
against his
support.
own.
That is 10 in support and 2 in opposition. So the
Sorry,
motion.
LBJ. Question has been called. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, and again, this is for the authorizing the introduction of the ordinance for the SEPLA funding. And let's see, Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, I heard you. Thank you. That motion passes unanimously with 12 in support. And that brings us to the next item on your agenda, which is 10.2, authorized resolution number 64 of 2020. It's a resolution authorizing the parish administrator to retain special legal counsel and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So moved. For introduction, yeah, so moved.
Second.
And that,
All right, got a motion to advance from Commissioner Hopkins, second by Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Hopkins, would you like to speak on that?
No, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, I see your hand up, but is that from the previous vote?
No.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
want to make a substitute motion to englobo and advance resolution number 64 and resolution number 65.
Second.
All right. Got a motion to englobo and advance 64 and 65, seconded by Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Johnson, would you like to speak on that?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Atkins, you're on the board.
First of all, from a procedural standpoint, I want to make sure that second came, it sounded like it came from Cawthorn to me. Was that Epperson or Cawthorn?
Cawthorn.
Right, so if we can make sure that we properly reflect Cawthorn there.
Thank you, parliamentarian.
And my other issue is now mute. Thank you.
Okay. My only question, or Commissioner Johnson, did you want to speak on that in global?
No, basically, the one on the NGOs that came out of the appropriation committee, and the first 10, I believe, organizations was on the first round, and the bottom, I think it's 9, is on the it's from the second round. So it's not all of them at one time. This is it's been a step process on what we've been doing. So this is the second round of organizations we're adding back into the budget for 2020.
Thank you, Vice President. Dr. Wilson, there was a comment or a question under citizens' comments just asking on the 10.2, why are we hiring outside counsel when we have our own? If we can address that before we can move along.
Yes, sir. Attorney Frazier, would you mind addressing that, please?
Sure. Basically, this is because we need the outside counsel because it's a specialized proceeding. Neither Mr. Bernstein nor I specialize in bankruptcy law, and it's something that has to be closely monitored to make sure that the parish can make a claim and try to get as many of the funds that are due to it under our Chesapeake leases as possible.
It's a great reason. Thank you, Attorney Frazier. Commissioner Atkins, I show you on the board.
I would just point out, Mr. President, that the outside counsel that Attorney Frazier chose in his job is very highly qualified, very well respected bankruptcy attorney. So I can testify to his expertise.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. I should know the commissioner on the board, Mr. Everson. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
and Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously with 12 in support. That brings us to new business. And under new business, your first item 11.1 is authorized introduction of ordinance number 5971 of 2020. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund for the year 2020 and to provide an appropriation for a mental health hotline. And
Motion to postpone.
A motion to postpone by Commissioner.
Second.
Second by Commissioner, was that Epperson?
That was Gage.
Okay.
Hey, what?
Commissioner Jackson, would you like to speak on that motion?
No, we've got some more stuff to work through on this one, so just want to postpone so that we can ensure that we, one, are not duplicating anything, but two, that we have a system is set up correctly. So
okay.
Thank you.
I see no other commissioners on the board. Mr. Everson, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage-Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Epperson, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously with 12 in support. And that brings you now to communiques and committee reports.
Commissioner Epperson, I see you on the board.
Yes, sir. Ms. Bryant. Ms.
Yes,
Bryant.
sir. Yes, sir.
If memory serves me correct, do you recall if I think we ended up doing maybe about $500,000 to the LSU digital program? Was 250,000?
No, sir. It was at least $500,000. It might have been.
Right. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure we got that point out. It was $500,000 to that program.
Yeah, I would have to verify the exact number. It may have been more than $500,000, but
right. I know it was at least a half. Thank you, ma'am.
At least a half. Half of it.
I thought it was $1 million.
500,000 is what. At least that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Epperson, is that all?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Yes, sir. Vice President Johnson.
Yes, before Commissioner Epperson called for the question, I was going to actually say too, even in 2020, LSU Medical Center, we've given them $175,000. And that was without any type of paperwork that was turned in that you can look at and read up on. Everything basically was verbal communication and hardly no questions asked. But with Southern, we want to have documentation, reports, blood types, who's next to kin, and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. Commissioner Jackson.
Attorney Frazier.
Yes.
Am I muted?
I was trying to get unmuted. I'm sorry.
Did we get anything from the medical school before we signed that CEA, or do we get the reports and stuff?
We will get the reports. They should be in the process of reporting now.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner
That was
Talley.
on my mind. If you could, when we get that report, if you could, it slipped my mind to ask earlier. If you could, if there's not any confidential information, if y'all could, I think it's going to be important to share that information. And then the other thing, Ms. Bryant, I know we had asked well, I'll get with you offline because I don't know if the disparity study will fit this agenda, but I think we need to get moving on that disparity study.
Well,
But okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Taliaferro and then Atkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. As a freshman commissioner, I don't have the history that many of my fellow commissioners have regarding allocating money for certain projects of higher learning institutions. So, but I do know a little bit about business, and I think that if a lending institution or any other business comes to us asking for assistance, then I'm all for giving them assistance. But with that assistance comes with a certain amount of documentation. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask a higher institution for, especially those that are boasting 100% placement rate, for those students that have enrolled in their system or their particular course of study, and how many students have dropped out along the way, and how many students have graduated, and where we have placed those students. I don't need their names. I don't need their blood types. I just like to know some numbers. And I don't think that's unreasonable for our constituents who look for us for disseminating their money in an appropriate manner. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Taliaferro. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to reinforce a statement that Commissioner Johnson made earlier regarding the agenda item through which we have reinstated funding for 9 or 10 NGO organizations. Please recall, I'm speaking to anyone who may be on the Zoom call out there beyond the commission, but I just wanted to remind them that that those items were approved for our 2020 budget and were vetted during the 2020 budgeting process. And then during the peak of the coronavirus, we had on that spending, and now we're simply reestablishing the already agreed to spending amount. So that's not new funding. That's just funding that we had agreed to in the 2020 budgeting process and then put on a temporary hold, and now we're restating it. Just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. Thank you, sir.
Correct.
Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yeah, good evening. I just want to do a redress with Commissioner Taliaferro. I think what our colleagues were addressing were, you mentioned anecdotally that no other colleges or universities had come to the commission requesting dollars. And so I think our fellow commissioners chimed in to let you know from a historical perspective that had been asked. So I don't think it's no personal attack on you. It was just a point of clarification and provide the information to you. Thanks.
So noted.
Commissioner Jackson, I see your hand up. Is that again or on the
Yeah, no, I was just gonna point out that you know, Commissioner Taliaferro, don't feel like we came down. I don't want you to feel that way. You did ask a lot of questions, and you were very, very thorough when we did the LSU funding the first time around. And I think you even went and met with Martha White and asked her some questions, and you met with a couple of physicians, I believe, at the medical school as well. So, so yeah, but if you need Dr. Ellis's number, you can always contact legal or finance and contact the person who's on that grant. But the best way to get information sometimes is if you work the request through administration, and if somebody's not following up, you know, bring it to the commission so that we can hopefully nudge them. But we don't, you know, we don't want you to feel like we're picking on you or coming down on you. We just was trying to get you up to speed. But you know, if that's the method that you choose, that's the method that you choose. I just ask that you be consistent on it, and so far you have. And so, so yeah, I just was just trying to bring you up to speed on how and what we've done on it. So appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see no other commissioners on the board. I was with the Vice President on voting no for a call for the question. I wanted to make one more comment on that. My request or recommendation, I don't want anybody's blood type or all that data, but I know Commissioner Jackson is a big advocate for getting the law school down here, getting students of Caddo Parish here in Shreveport trained up. in higher education as well as nursing. I just want to ensure that the money that we put forth towards Southern for the nursing program downtown grants us Shreveport or Caddo Parish residents. So I don't know how we can craft this in an amendment, but I'd like to see something that stipulates at least the grants or the money going to Southern is allocated for students of Caddo Parish and not students from outside of the state of Shreveport or the state of Louisiana, rather.
Well, Mr. President, I think these dollars are for some more like equipments that they need. So
I got you.
It's not like a
hopefully it'll get
scholarship or a
it.
grant. Right.
I got you.
But they do.
Lyndon Johnson.
But they do ask students to sign on commitments that they work a certain amount of time in this area. Some students choose to do that, some don't, but that's something that's not associated with this funding request. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice President Johnson.
Yeah, I was just gonna say in the past, when they have gotten some money, it was for Caddo students, Caddo individuals, and that money wasn't applied to people that stayed in Bossier Parish or whatever, East Texas or wherever they came from. They had to be a resident of Caddo Parish in order to qualify for any of that money that we had given them. And we done the same thing when we did the computer animation program with LSUS. It's always got to be for our Caddo residents to try to improve their quality of life and to try to keep them here in Caddo Parish.
Sounds good. Mr. Everson, I see no one else on the board.
Okay, that brings us to citizens' comments, late arrivals, and we do not have any additional citizens' comments. We haven't received.
Move to adjourn.
Move for adjourn. Second.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, commissioners.